welcome back to my channel. Just in case you're new to me and my channel, I'm Katie, but you can also call me Dinky. And welcome to the world of Dinky. Now in today's video, I'm going to be going back to my true crime series. And I'm leaving behind the female serial killers. And now I'm moving on to the male serial killers. But in today's video, it's a little bit different, because I am focusing on the Freeway killers. And there are three quite well-known killers who operated on the freeway in California and around that area. And I will say in advance that I'm not going to go into too much detail, like with all the victims and all the crimes, because they are heavy, they are vile. It may be unsuitable for certain viewers. So if it's not your cup of tea, if you're sensitive to this kind of subject, then please go and check out my other videos. I've got lots of different ones: vlogs, beauty video, and fashion, disability awareness. Just have a look and see what you find that may take your interest. Now the Freeway killers are Patrick Kearney, William Bonin, and Randy Kraft. And I'm going to be starting off with Patrick Kearney when I talk about them in a little bit more detail. To begin with, I'm just going to be giving you a little bit of info, not too much. Patrick Kearney had 21 to 43 victims. William Bonin had 21 to 36 plus victims. And Randy Kraft, who is actually also known as a scoreboard killer, and he had 16 to 67 victims. Now Patrick operated between 1965 and March 1977. William Bonin, he operated between 1979 and June 1980. Randy Kraft, he operated between September 1971 to May 1983. Now they've all been charged with murder, sodomy, mutilation, kidnapping, you name it. Patrick Kearney was born in East Los Angeles. William Bonin was born in Willimantic, I may have to write that if I've said that right, in Connecticut. And Randy Kraft was born in Long Beach, California. Now back to Patrick Kearney. He was born on September 24th, 1939. William Bonin was born January the 8th, 1947. And Randy Kraft was born March 19th, 1945. Kearney was the eldest of three sons. Bonin was the second child in the middle of three boys. And Kraft was the fourth child, and he was the only son. He was thin and a sickly child, and he was badly bullied, and he was only 5'5" tall. He was neglected and abused, and he was put for fostering, and he molested siblings and neighbourhood children, and he was accident prone. He was also very intelligent, apparently, and he graduated school, and so did Bonin. He graduated school too. Whereas Kearney, I'm not too sure. It's a little bit hazy on that one. Now I'm going to be talking more in depth about each of these freeway killers, starting with Patrick Kearney. And he confessed to committing his first murder victim in 1962, who was 19 and white. And he was convinced to ride Kearney's motorbike to a secluded area in Indio, California. And then he was shot in the head and sexually assaulted, and it was unknown if the body was ever found. Kearney also confessed to two other murders during 1962, and the second victim was a younger cousin of the first victim, who had witnessed Kearney driving away with the first victim. And then the first murder that he confessed to and was convicted of, which was in 1967, and this was while he was living in Culver City, and it was approximately 1 year after moving in with David Hill, who has become his partner, and the murder took place in Tijuana. Hope I said that right. The identification of the victim was impossible as he was shot between the eyes with a pistol as he slept. And then he took the body into the bathroom where he sodomized and proceeded to dismember the body and skin it with an X-Acto knife. And he decided to extract the bullet and then placed the body behind his garage. The first victim was apparently called George. Whether it was his real name, I'm not too sure. But Kearney did not kill for a year after the murder of George. And there's fear of law enforcement who would ask him about the disappearance of George. Kearney refined his MO, which enabled him to carry out his crimes more efficiently and frequently. Now, starting in 1974, he is estimated to have committed murders on a monthly basis. He'd pick his victims along the freeway in his truck, and he'd typically shoot his victims in his temple, like say right here, like he did with George. He typically shoot his victims in his temple above the ear with a Derringer 22 pistol in his right hand, while steering his car with his left hand and simultaneously maintaining his speed limit to not attract any unwanted attention. After murdering his victims, Kearney would leave the bodies slumped upright in the passenger seat and drove to a secluded area to sexually violate them. Kearney mostly preyed on young men, but also boys and adolescents as well. Now, his youngest victim was just 5 years old, Ronald Dean Smith, and his body was found in Riverside County 2 months after he disappeared. And then the last known victim was 8-year-old Merle Hondo Chance, and Kearney claims to have smothered the boy and he'd taken his body home and later disposed of the remains in Angeles National Forest. Victim John Otis LeMay, who was just 17 years old, led to Kearney's arrest, and approximately 5:30 p.m. in the same day, LeMay told a neighbour that he was going to Redondo Beach to meet Dave, who he met at a gym, who was actually David Hill, Kearney's partner, who he was living with. And Hill had given this boy his address, but was absent when the boy turned up at the house. And unfortunately for him, Kearney was home. He invited him in to watch TV while he waited. And then without provocation, Kearney reached for a pistol and shot LeMay in the back of the head. And he later dismembered the body and then dumped in a desert. Kearney confessed to 28 and subsequently more victims, and he pled guilty to avoid the death penalty. And he charged with 21 counts of murder, and he was sentenced to 21 life sentences. And he didn't get charged with any more as they lacked physical evidence to charge him. Patrick Kearney was actually sentenced to the gas chamber, but because of a previous death row inmate who had a very difficult death, I guess you could say, it took 15 minutes for him to die in the gas chamber, and it was very, very difficult and uncomfortable. So they changed it to the lethal injection. But if I can, I'll try and put something on the screen so that you can understand more about the guy who endured this horrible death. I'm going to be talking more detail about William Boning. When William Boning was just 21 years old, he committed sexual assault on young people, and he committed 3 more sexual assaults upon boys and youths over the following 4 months. And the victims were aged between 12 and 18 years old. And his thing was to bound or restrain the victim before forcing engaging of torture, including bludgeoning and squeezing of the victim's testicles. Boning was arrested as he attempted to restrain a 60-year-old boy, and he was indicted on 5 counts of kidnapping, 4 counts of sodomy, 1 count of oral copulation, 1 count of child molestation against 5 young boys. He pleaded guilty to molestation and forced oral copulation and sentenced to the Atatsadesco State Hospital, I hope I said that right, as a mentally disordered sexual offender. 2 years after arriving at this hospital, he was sent to prison, and there he was declared unsuitable for further treatment, largely due to his repeating engaging in forceful sexual activity with his inmates. Boning was released from prison after doctors concluded that he was no longer a danger to the health and safety of others, and he committed further sexual crimes, and he was sent back to prison. Boning soon became acquainted with Everett Fraser and Vernon Butts and Gregory Miley, and the first murder victim Boning charged with was 30-year-old hitchhiker Thomas Glenn Lundgren, and the autopsy revealed Lundgren suffered emasculation and bludgeoning to the face and head, skull sustaining multiple fractures. He's been slashed across the throat, extensively stabbed and strangled to death. His underwear, jeans and severed genitals were discovered strewn in a field close to his body. In the abduction and murder of Lundgren, Boning was assisted by Butts, who suspected of accompanying or assisting Boning on at least 8 further murders attributed to the Freeway killer. Boning had been charged with an additional 15 murders, which he had confessed to and was convicted, and also he was charged with 11 counts of robbery, 1 count of sodomy, and 1 count of mayhem. Upon sentencing hearing, Judge William Keane said he had a total disregard for the sanctity of human life and a civilized society. Sadistic, unbelievably cruel, senseless, and deliberately premeditated, guilty beyond any possible or imaginary doubt. Now we're going to go on to the scoreboard to let Randy correct. Randy is believed to have killed 67 victims, and the victims again were males between 13 and 35. He was charged and convicted of 16 homicides. He had mostly been enlisted in the US Marines Corps. Most of his victims' bodies have evidence of high levels of both alcohol and tranquilizers in the blood systems, and this indicated that they'd been unconscious before they'd been abused and killed. Kraft lured his victims into his vehicle with an offer of a lift or alcohol, and then they'd be plied with alcohol and or drugs. they'd be bound, tortured and sexually abused before they were usually killed by either strangulation, asphyxiation or bludgeoning, although some of the victims also ingested fatal doses of pharmaceuticals, and at least one victim was stabbed to death. And the victims would usually then be discarded alongside or close to various freeways in Southern California. Many of the victims were burned with a car cigarette lighter around the genitals, chest, face, and several were found extensive blunt force trauma to the face and head. In several instances, foreign objects were found inserted into the victims' rectums, while other victims had suffered emasculation or mutilation and dismemberment. And his first victim was Wayne Joseph Duquette, and he was 30 years old, and he'd be described close to the Ortega Highway. Putrefaction had raised any signs of foul play upon body, and cause of death was listed as acute alcohol poisoning due to a high blood alcohol level. And he was the first entry upon Kraft's personal journey, which was known as a scorecard, and it reads stable. He would often put simple words next to what he'd link his victim to. So if he didn't always know his name, he would put something similar along the lines of, I don't know. I will try and find an example and I will put it on the screen so you can see what I mean and understand it more. And he's continued to deny any guilt in any of the homicides. And he was sentenced to the death penalty. I hope I have been clear in talking about the Freeway killers. I do hope that I haven't confused you in any way. But when I first heard about the Freeway killers, although I've heard the killers individually, not all linked as the Freeway killers, I thought it'd be a great idea, something a bit different, to do all three in one video. Like I said earlier, I didn't want to go into too much detail because it's just so heavy, so vile and very sickening. It's actually really been difficult to try and remember what happened to some of the victims. That's why I've kind of gone a little bit vague. So if you want to learn more about Patrick Kearney, William Bonin or Randy Kraft, then please do feel free to look online, go to the library, wherever you like to research, and you can find out more about each killer and the victims and the crimes. But when they first discovered that there was 3 separate independent killers, they didn't realise, and they thought it was maybe one. This was the police and the media. So they're very surprised that there's 3 independent, separate, at around similar time, all going after young males. I think I can imagine how much of a frenzy it must have caused during the 70s and 80s. Absolutely crazy. Really crazy. If you would like me to do a separate video about any of these 3, I will be happy to do that. But as I was doing 3, I thought I'll just keep it vague. And who knows who can take hearing about the vile crimes. Not many people can. I've got quite a strong stomach for this kind of thing, thankfully, because you need it. Anyway, I am going to go. Thank you for watching. I do hope that you've enjoyed me talking about these disgusting people, monsters. If you did, then please don't forget to click on the like below, and don't forget to share, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new to my channel. And I will see you all in my next video. See you next time. Bye.